Tom Easterday, and I'm Senior Vice President of Subaru of Indiana.
Okay. Tom, we're here at the Subaru plant, and we've just learned that you are 0% landfill. Explain what that means.
Being zero landfill means we put absolutely nothing into a landfill. As a matter of fact, the average person puts more into a landfill every day than we do as a company. And since April of 2004, our operations, even though we generate waste, we put no waste into a landfill because we've reduced, we've reused, and we've recycled.
I was just amazed to find out that you actually pay a company to take that 1% or so of what's left over from lunch and all that stuff and convert it into electricity that's used here in Indiana. Tell me about that.
It's kind of a unique story. There's a company in Indianapolis called Covanta, and you have to have a certain BTU level, a certain burn level of trash to be able to burn that, and then they actually make steam, generate steam from that, and then steam powers the electricity for the city of Indianapolis and downtown Indianapolis. So the very small percentage that we could not recycle or reuse, we've taken that and, again, as you said, paid to have that taken down to Covanta in Indianapolis, burned to generate the steam to power the city of Indianapolis.
Do the people of Indianapolis know this?
It's funny because the city of Indianapolis downtown has been powered with steam for several decades, but how steam is generated and the fact that it's a waste to energy program is not that well publicized. It's something that probably should be better publicized.
Why is it that they don't actually take their waste over to Covanta and have it done themselves?
Well, part of it has to do with the BTU level. It has to be able to be burnable, and not all waste is capable of being burned. For example, in an auto plant, you generate steel scrap. Certainly that's not capable of being taken to Covanta, but we can recycle that or reuse that as it may be.
Wow. Now, how much how many discussions have there been with Toyota on the fact that you are 0% landfill and you expect the same thing from them?
We've had a lot of discussions with them. They have very extensive environmental programs, and I've known their environmental manager for over 10 years myself, and they do an excellent job at Toyota. We've been able to learn a lot from Toyota about production process, and likewise, they've learned from us about how to be zero landfill. And we've talked with them extensively because the way that we reuse and the way that we recycle packaging, for example, is very important to us. We want to make sure that the suppliers that we have for the Camry, many of whom will be the same suppliers that currently supply the Camry production that goes on at Georgetown, Kentucky Toyota plant, those suppliers, we want to make sure that their containers are such that they can be taken back and reused. We want to make sure the packaging is such that it can be reused or recycled, as it may be the case. We want to make sure that there's a minimum amount of waste generated to begin with. So we want to reduce the amount of packaging, reduce the amount of caps and other things on the parts that we receive. And they've been very cooperative because they've had some programs already in place in this direction themselves. So the fact that we're dealing with someone, a company like Toyota that's already environmentally conscious, already has been moving in that direction, has been very helpful. But a lot of discussions.
I should step back a little bit and say that for the people who don't know that GM sold their share in Subaru recently, and Toyota was smart enough to step up and buy 8.7% of your stock. So they will be building Camrys at this Subaru Indiana plant.
Yes, what happened is in October of last year, October of 2005, GM sold its 20% share of the total outstanding common stock of Fuji Heavy Industries, our parent company, Subaru. And then, as you said, 8.7% of that was purchased by Toyota, and as a result of that, they entered into some business collaborations. And one of the main ones was they needed some plant capacity in the United States. And since we discontinued Isuzu production a few years ago, we've had some excess capacity here at Subaru of Indiana. So by virtue of that, business collaboration developed that we could produce the Camry in the United States. And since the Camry is selling extremely well with the new model that came out, they needed additional Camry production. And it is the leading selling vehicle in America. So beginning in 2007, we'll start producing the Toyota Camry here at Subaru of Indiana.
How many will you produce a year?
The first year we're going to produce about 30 to 40,000, and then we'll have the capacity to produce up to 100,000 Camrys starting in 2008.
What kind of incentives, tax incentives, state tax and federal tax did Toyota get for coming into Indiana?
Actually, the incentives were not nearly what other states have offered. We got a $1 million training grant, which is basically to train people in the Toyota production system. We're going to be adding 1,000 new jobs as a result of this project. and the total capital investment is $234.5 million. $60 million of that from Subaru and the balance from Toyota. So a lot of capital investment, which will generate local property taxes, a lot of income taxes and so forth from the new employees. Tax credits, which are usually given in the hundreds of millions of dollars, actually only about $3.5 million in tax credits, because Toyota and Subaru agreed to forego the tax credits in exchange for a change in Indiana law that was already being promoted and probably would have passed the legislature anyway, regarding a single sales factor for the calculation of corporate income tax. And a lot of businesses were in favor of that because it really encourages exporting of products outside the state of Indiana.
Explain that. I don't know what that is.
Basically, there were three ways to calculate a corporate income tax before. And this basically narrowed it down to just one factor. And so it simplified the calculation of the income tax and also created the situation where all companies would be calculated the same, as opposed to being done differently depending on the company and depending upon whether they exported. So it really clarified the calculation of the corporate income tax and resulted in some tax savings for some companies also.
Can't leave Indiana without asking you. You got a hardwood basketball court here?
Yes, we do. We've actually got we have a child development center, and across from that is our recreation center. And inside our recreation center is a nice big hardwood basketball court, which every Hoosier loves. We actually have 2 outdoor basketball courts to go along with that.
Tom, thank you very much.
Thank you for being in Subaru of Indiana.